Oh, Shay, you have really done it this time. You know Ice Cube is worth $160 million. If I had $160 million, I would not be worried about your broke, ungrateful asses, I'll tell you that. Hey guys, before we get started, as always, hit the thumbs up, comment when I get on your nerves, and subscribe so you know the next time I'll be getting on your nerves. What's up, everybody? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. So today I woke up to O'Shea Jackson, otherwise known as Ice Cube, being in a lot of trouble. And I don't wake up till 4 p.m., so he had plenty of time to get in that trouble. But that's neither here nor there. He's in trouble because White House senior advisor Katrina Pearson shouted him out on Twitter and said thank you for working with the administration. So he got on to clear it up. He said, facts, I actually contacted both parties. The Dems said we'll talk after the election, and Donald Trump's administration reached out. And what Ice Cube had actually wanted to talk to them about was a contract with Black America, which is something that he had discussed on his Twitter not too long ago in some footage where he was asking basically,
what's in it for us? What's in it for the black community besides the same old thing we've been getting from these parties? What's in it for us, for real?
Because Charlemagne the God, Diddy, Ice Cube, and several other successful black celebrities have been asking what are the Democrats going to do for the black community specifically. They've laid out a plan of what it is they want. The plan covers 13 different areas of improvement, including bank lending, prison reform, and police reform. Ice Cube also mentioned that
42% of black businesses closing,
which obviously affects the black community in a big way. And so the Trump administration agreed to absorb some of the requests into what Trump calls the Platinum Plan. Trump's Platinum Plan promises to increase access to capital in black communities by almost $500 billion by creating 500,000 black-owned businesses and 3 million new jobs for the black community, as well as increased access to better education and job training. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. I'm tired of people being so stupid. Ice Cube, whether you like it or not, is trying to do something good for the black community. I read an article. The article was just making it seem like Ice Cube is doing this solely to make himself seem like some sort of messiah. And to me, that's a very ignorant way of looking at things. To me, if you have people like Ice Cube on your side, it's very short-sighted and very dumb to me for people to get caught up on what administration it is. Let me be 100% honest and tell you guys how I feel about this. Here's the deal. I know a lot of people that put a lot of money into a lot of different things. When it comes to the LGBT community, when it comes to the black community, when it comes to the Latino community, these people are usually looking for some sort of write-off. That's what it's about. I'm not saying this is what's going on with Donald Trump, even though there might be some kind of political write-off that comes with it. Who knows? I am not an expert in politics. What I am an expert in is getting money from old white men that have a lot of it. That's what I'm an expert at. That's the only thing I'm good at. So I talk from this perspective. So let me tell you guys, a lot of these people have a lot of extra money and they're willing to help you out. Who cares how they vote? Who cares about their politics when it really comes down to it? And you would say when it comes to the president of the United States, politics definitely matter. Well, yeah, you're right to a certain degree. But what you need is his political clout to get you what your community actually needs. So if you're going to get caught up on Biden versus Trump when it comes to that kind of situation, then you're probably not really about the change you say you want. And that's 100% the best way I can put it, is you probably aren't as serious about it or as devoted as you pretend to be. Because I'll tell you, a lot of the people that are out there marching right now and screaming Black Lives Matter, yeah, they might have some money for some poster board to make some signs. They might have some gas money to drive you to the march. They might have a good phone to take some pictures for Instagram, but they don't have the kind of money that you need, the kind of capital that you need, the kind of access that you need, the kind of clout you need to raise your entire community, which is supposedly the goal, right? Is to raise the entire community. It's not just about taking down Trump, and it's not just about uplifting Biden. To me, this isn't a partisan issue when it really comes down to it. It's about getting what it is you actually need and who's actually going to do for you. And that's the only thing you should be worried about. Like when I mentioned that I know a lot of times it's Trump supporters that are funding a lot of things. How do I know this? Because there was one LGBT situation that I was in personally personally, where somebody told me in so many words that they are voting for Trump, but they can't let anybody in the organization know that they're voting for Trump because it'll turn into a thing. This person has a business that's worth over $50 million. No exaggeration, no lie, over $50 million. And this person has to watch what he says because he doesn't want to piss off the people that he's doing for, which makes no sense to me. As far as I go, I give you any kind of money to run your little situation, you shut your peasant mouth and you say thank you. You take my $500 billion, you tuck it under your titty and you keep it pushing, bitch. That's the way you're supposed to do it. I don't know what these people are doing. And let me tell you this. Then the article also says that instead of dealing with the politicians, what any of the successful black men that have met with the Trump administration, what they should be doing instead is dealing with the grassroots, the people on the ground. Yes, you can definitely do that, and that's great. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of those people are too dumb to really understand the way things work, even though you would think they should understand the way things work better than anybody else. And when I say dumb, I don't want to sound mean because I'm about to reference a personal story, but here's the deal. There's this one political activist for the black community here in Las Vegas that I was friends with, and I showed up to one of her events. While everybody else was promising that they would show up to the event, I was the only one, as far as the other comedians went, that actually showed up to her event. I brought snacks, I brought drinks, I brought cups. I was late, but I was there. I showed up. Nobody else showed up. Then she gets mad at me because I say something she doesn't like on Facebook. And rather than just chat it out with me and see what my perspective is, instead, she decides to completely unfriend me. Well, that makes no sense at all. So you keep all the cheerleaders that say the things that you need them to say, but the person that actually shows up and shows action, that's the person that you decide to get rid of. Makes no sense at all to me, and it's the reason that people like Ice Cube and Van Jones go over those people's heads and are like, okay, I can't really deal with you because you don't get it. You think this is about arguing on the playground when I'm trying to go straight to the principal's office and be like, let's get something done. It's like being on a schoolyard. It's like, why are you going to deal with these other kids and be arguing with them when really you could go over their heads and just be like, okay, let me go straight to the top and see what we can get done there. Because if Trump ends up winning, which is a very real possibility, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it is a real possibility. And you could say, no, it's impossible. That's what they said when he was running against Hillary, and look what happened. Here you are, still crying 4 years later. So maybe you need to start hedging your bets. Maybe you need to make sure that no matter who's in the office, you have access to them. And if the Dems are saying you've got to wait until Election Day after we don't need you anymore, to me, that doesn't sound the best. And I did look at Biden's plan as well, and I'll put links to both in the description so you guys can see for yourselves what's going on. But to me, it's just smart. And this isn't at me being partisan at all. I don't care who you vote for, honestly. Do I think that Trump is a better situation? I do. But am I going to try to influence your vote or make you think a certain way? No. I'm saying you look at both for yourself with an open mind and see where you actually end up. See what you actually think the better plan is. Because to me, if anybody's willing to at least meet with you, that is a better situation than somebody that says, we'll meet with you after. Because you're not treating me seriously at all. And technically, you're running for president. If you have a sitting president that's actually supposed to be doing stuff, who knows how much he actually does? I'm not going to pretend like I think our president is the busiest man in the world when it comes to presidential responsibilities, because that's not what we've seen. That's not what he's shown us. He spends a lot of time on Twitter. He spends more time on Twitter than I do. So I'm not going to pretend that our president doesn't off a bit. But at the same time, he's willing to actually meet with you. He's willing to actually talk with you or have his people talk to you, which is more than the Dems are willing to do right now. So in my thinking, that's a better place to be at than what's happening with Joe Biden, which I don't think Joe Biden is really going to change that much. And that's the reason that I don't think he's good for America, because I think he's going to just put a smiley face on everything and pat everybody on the head and act like he's doing something and really do nothing, which is what a lot of these people do. at least with Donald Trump, he does do some stuff. He really does do, like, for me, him getting Alice Marie Johnson out of prison is huge because there was no gain to him for that. Yeah, he had her show up at the Republican National Convention, but who wouldn't? Of course. But what was really his motivation there? What would be the reason for him doing it other than he saw an injustice? I personally will tell you how I feel about Donald Trump, and a lot of people will disagree with me, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think Donald Trump really wants to be a great president. And I think that if the American people were smart, what they would do is exploit that and make sure that he does things that would make him a great president. I think rather than fighting with him, I think that people should try to work with him and let him have the popularity that he wants as long as he's doing what it is we need. At a point, you have to stop trying to fight everybody and actually look at how much this is benefiting you. Does it really benefit you to fight Donald Trump all the time? Is it good for you mentally? Carrying around this much hate for somebody you've never met in your life doesn't seem healthy to me. But if that's what you want to do, then do that. If you want to continue to struggle, then you continue to struggle. But don't get mad at other people that really have no reason to help you. $160 million, Ice Cube could put his feet up and say, all of you, die in squalor for all I care. But he's not doing that. He's still trying to help out the black community. And you could say that that's helping him in some way, but really he's made his money. He doesn't need to do this. Kim Kardashian would make money off posting selfies, whether she helped to get people released from prison or not. So understand that sometimes people are helping you out even if you don't like the methods that they're using to help you out or the people that they have to deal with to help you out. And to me, that's the difference between a person that's going to be successful in what they're trying to do and a person that's going to continue to have to walk the streets and picket and march and whatever the hell else you're doing, set shit on fire, however you waste your time, because that's really what a lot of you are doing. And I hate to burst your bubble, but a lot of you are just wasting your time out there. Really, it's a photo op is what it is, a lot of these things you guys are doing, because it's not getting anything done. At all. Okay, at all was kind of strong. I got carried away in the moment. It does get people's attention. So let me not belittle. I sound like your abusive husband. Let me scale back. This is what I mean. Yes, you are important. You was kind. Okay, let me get it together. What I'm trying to say is, yes, you are helping by being out on the streets, doing what you do. You're getting attention. Then you have somebody like Ice Cube, Kim Kardashian, somebody with some goddamn sense is what I'm saying. Somebody that knows how to talk to people. Somebody that's made money by working for people that they don't necessarily like. You know the story of NWA. You saw the movie Straight Outta Compton. Or was I the only one that saw that? Because it made millions and millions of dollars. You know Ice Cube and the guys from NWA all got screwed. That's what happened. But then they continued to work within that industry and ended up being hugely successful. So maybe that's the exact person you need in there talking to Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whoever it ends up being. Does that really sound that difficult to you guys? Or maybe you just want to stay pouring in the projects all your lives and live on your principles, which, you know, I personally would just get this money and worry about principles later. That's the way I've always done it. I don't know if that made me sound the best. Anyway, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Oh, I'm also going to include a link to the Contract of Black America just so you guys can read it for yourselves. I went ahead and read it. It was 23 pages. Reading isn't my favorite thing or my strong suit, but it seems like a lot of things that they're asking for are actually quite reasonable. And yeah, there's going to be certain things that are going to get thrown out because it's kind of a wish list. That part I do agree with from the article that I read. It is a bit of a wish list, but at the same time, a lot of the things that they're asking for are actually quite reasonable. And it makes a lot more sense than when you just say defund the police. To me, that's a very important thing. Also, at the end of it, after the first however many pages, then it starts talking about historically what's happened to black communities. The other thing that I was going to mention is sometimes when you hear things like this, a person like me is like, oh, the black community only looking out for themselves again. But if you actually read it, instead of just being reactionary, what you see is they mention the Native Americans as well. No mention of the Mexicans, but let's not get into that. We don't got to be petty. But they mention the Native Americans, which is huge to me. To me, even though I'm Mexican, it's more important that you mention the natives than mentioning the Mexicans, because the natives have definitely been screwed and they deserve some help and some sort of reparations, for lack of a better term. So there's that. And then there's also, when it comes to like talking about the historical part, to me that is so important because it's such a good opportunity right now for people to educate people on what it is the black experience has been in this country, which is huge. When you can put that human, or let people actually like know, because a lot of people don't really know the extent to which the black community has been screwed in this country. Some people really don't, and that's why it does bother me when people have that attitude where it's like, it's not my job to teach people. Okay, well then take that attitude and never get ahead in life. Or you can take a moment and actually make it your job to educate them if you yourself are educated. Because I feel like a lot of times when people take that stance, it's because they don't really know their stuff. So when you ask them to tell you why it is certain things are the way they are, or what the injustices were, then they get really defensive because it's like, oh, now I'm going to be exposed as not really knowing my stuff. I had a situation happen like that with me today for LGBT, and I was able to help out because of the Amy Coney Barrett situation when the senator, I believe it was, from Hawaii asked her about why she said sexual preference rather than sexual orientation. One of my friends, who's a hardcore conservative, but a really good friend to me, asked me if that's always been a thing, because to him he thought it was something new, which I don't blame him. It's from his perspective. This is what his exposure has been. And I, at that point, had a chance to politely explain to him that we've been trying to say it's sexual orientation forever, because sexual preference does make it seem like it's a choice. And for most of us gays, we definitely would tell you that it is not a choice. I've been very honest about the fact that I grew up in a smaller town in Arizona. So if it had been a choice, I would have chosen to be straight, because that would have been the easier life. I wouldn't have had to risk losing my friends. I wouldn't have had to upset my family. I could have just been normal if it had been a preference rather than an orientation. But this is just the way that I was born. Some people would disagree with that, and I wouldn't get mad at you for disagreeing. Yeah, I would know that you're wrong because I know what I felt inside of myself. Well, let's not get into that. But I know what I felt my entire life. So I don't mind answering the question, because to me, it's a very small effort that I have to put out in explaining that to make a lasting change on somebody that's my friend, so they trust me and they know that I'm not going to BS them. That's where change comes from, is from explaining things, from letting people see the human side of everything. So if you think it's not your job to educate, then again, you're not as serious about what you say you are. Because if it's something as simple as explaining, giving up knowledge that you actually have, or even pointing them in the direction of some literature, send them a link. Tell them to read it. Let's talk about it later. When you have an opinion about it, talk to me. We can discuss it. But that's the way you make change, not by, you're stupid, you would never understand. Well, you're right. I would never understand until you tell me. Now that you told me, I get it. Thank you.